So it is a little after 9 o'clock on January the 2nd. No, it's not January. June the 2nd, 2021. And this is the June meeting of the Environment and Land Use Committee for Trempealeau County. And at this point, I will call the meeting to order. Certify open meeting laws have been met by proper posting. I'm doing most of this by memory because I've lost my agenda. There's probably one in here. And here we go. But before I was supposed to certify the open meeting law requirements having been met, we were going to do a roll call of committee members. Now, we have a new temporary staff, limited term employee, who will say a few words once we get to you. Okay, great. Introduce yourself. I'm George Brandt, County Board Supervisor, Chairman of the committee.
Beth Killian, Secretary for the committee and Supervisor 7.
Carol Bowick, FSA Representative.
Bert Ryan, District 13 Supervisor. Chuck Wallach, District 11 Supervisor.
Randy Severson, Livestock Producer on the committee.
Kathy Zeglin, Town's Government Representative and Vice Chair.
Mark Carlson, Trumbull County Department of Land Management.
Burge Gamrath, Department of Land Management. I prepare the minutes for the meeting.
We'll do Reed first.
Reed Lally, Department of Land Management.
And then Reed, introduce the guy next to you.
Yes, and this here is Blake Johnson. He will be the intern for the Department of Land Management this summer, so he can say a couple of words about what he's up to and where he's at in school and whatnot.
Go for it, Blake.
So as he mentioned, my name is Blake Johnson. I'm here for the summer interning with DLM, working with Reed mostly. I am currently going into my junior year at UW-Madison with majors in life science communications and wildlife ecology and a certificate in ag business management. I'd be glad to answer any questions that anybody has about anything. Happy to be here with all of you. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Any questions for Blake?
Just a welcome.
Welcome. What was that first thing you're studying? What did?
Life science communications.
What is that?
It's a fancy way of saying ag marketing.
Okay. Well, good. Fancy's good. All right. Keep us updated on what do you have him doing, Reed?
Blake is going to be, he's doing a number of things. He's doing, the WAVE testing program. He's going to be doing the phosphorus testing. He's been taking along and doing job shadowing on site visits and, site visit reports. This morning he was working on a water permitting application for a bridge grant in Arcadia for a snowmobile bridge. Mm-hmm. So he'll be more or less kind of job shadowing and watching what myself and then hopefully the new hires in the department, what we're doing over the next 3 months, and just try to get him as much experience as he can, resume building material and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of the plan.
Well, thanks for being here and helping out. Let's move to number 4 on the agenda, the adoption of the agenda. We have a 22-item agenda. Is there?
Burge and Mark did not introduce themselves.
Yes, they did.
Did they?
That's it?
I didn't think you introduced yourself.
Yes, I did.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Anything we need to note? I think not. All in favor of approving the agenda as printed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is approved. We have 2 sets of minutes, one from the regular May 5th meeting and one for the May 24th meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve both of them simultaneously.
I'll make a motion to approve both minutes.
Wallach to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Skoyan. Any questions, corrections?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do have an addition to the May 24th special meeting.
Okay.
Nancy Bergman was also present, and Mary Ann Bigsby made a brief statement supporting those of Ms. Mossman and Ms. Horton.
Can we add that, Verge?
Yes.
Okay.
What was that again, Kathy? Mary Ann Bigsby made a brief statement supporting those
The comments of Ms. Mossman and Ms. Horton.
Okay, and what was the other?
Nancy Bergman was also present.
All right, with those small additions, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We have,
Mr. Chairman, I'm abstaining
Oh,
from
I'm sorry.
voting
Bowick.
because I was not at the last meeting.
okay.
Okay.
Bowick abstains, and I should abstain as well, because I wasn't at that 24th meeting.
Okay, so you're just abstaining from the 24th?
Moving on, we have Farm Service Agency update, and our FSA representative, Carol Bowick, is got a bunch of blue paper there.
There's quite a few items. They are very, very busy at this time of the year. FSA has reopened the CFAP 2 application period for all eligible commodities. Producers that did not previously submit an application may do so at this time. Row crops, livestock, dairy, specialty crops, and more are all eligible. Also, the crops must be reported to FSA, the deadline, July 15th. That's really nothing new. What is new is the CRP program has opened up again, and they have higher payment rates, new incentives, more targeted focus on program role and climate change mitigations. They're starting the sign up for general and continuous CRP. That time has not been announced yet. The rental rates they're based on 3 main soil types, and the maximum rental rate has increased. It's $163.
Oh.
So that is an increase of $64. So contact FSA if you're interested. Thank you.
Any questions for Carol? I did get a message from Kellen saying he was going to be late, and in the rush, I forgot to share that with you, but he's here with us now at 9:10.
See you, Kurt, tomorrow.
Yeah, come see you tomorrow.
Okay, we have 3 public hearings today. The first one is a request for a rezone, a land use change rezone from exclusive ag to primary ag. Jerome and Mary Madison from Osseo, is that how you pronounce it, Madison? Okay, are here. Could you join us at the table right there? Yes, you have to do this. Here we are engaging local government up close and personal. And I'll call a public hearing to order at 9:11 and ask the secretary to read the notice.
There will be a public hearing before the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 9 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse, 36245 Main Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin. Purpose, land use change rezone from exclusive ag, EA, to primary ag, PA, on approximately 5 acres more or less to create a residential lot. The location, located in the southwest quarter of Section 1, Township 23 North, Range 7 West, in the town of Hale, parcel number 0180016200000. The hearing is requested by Jerome M. and Mary C. Mattison, Osseo, Wisconsin, landowners petitioners. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you're unable to attend and have any questions, please call Bernadette Gamroth with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916 or email at vergegamroth@countytrempealeau, Wisconsin, U.S. If you're unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comment to Department of Land Management, P.O. Box 67, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to vergegamroth@countytrempealeau, Wisconsin, U.S. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author and the request that the letter be read at a particular meeting date. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Virginette Gamroth of the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916. Sincerely, Virginette Gamroth, Service Specialist.
Verge, you want to describe so, if you're new to this, Verge will describe the request. If there's anything she's left out that you want to add, we'll give you an opportunity to do that, and then I'll call 3 times for public comment before we close the public hearing and open it up for discussion. Okay?
The Madison application was filed on April 15th, 2021. It's for the rezone of approximately 5 acres from exclusive ag to primary ag, which was, I believe, recommended by the county surveyor. Exclusive ag zoning is usually affiliated with a farmland preservation contract. That farmland preservation contract was relinquished by DATCAP in January of 2015. Primary ag was chosen as that allows for a maximum density of 2 houses per 40, thus accomplishing what Madison is trying to do. He wants to create a house lot for his daughter. And Mr. Madison is present, and his daughter Jenny. I don't know if we said that. In the town of Hale, most of their zoning will be changing from R8 to rural residential once their comp plan is completed. The hearing was published May 12th and May 19th in the Trempealeau County Times. Letters were sent to all adjoiners. I received no correspondence for or against the rezone. I do have a letter from the town of Hale, and if approved, this would go to full county board for final approval on 6/21/21.
Mr. Madison, is there anything you want to add?
No.
Okay. We have the map on the board, and we also have copies of the maps with us. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to this request for the rezone? Generally, we would ask anyone who does want to speak at any of these public hearings to sign a speaker's request form on the back table. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak for or against or for information related to this rezone? It's at this time I ask to hear what the town had to say.
I have a letter from the town of Hale dated April 14th, 2021, to the Trumpealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee. On April 13th, 2021, the town of Hale board met to discuss the rezoning of 5 acres of Jerome Madison's land from exclusive ag to primary ag. This 5-acre parcel, or a portion of it, would then be sold to a relative for the purpose of building a house on it. The rezoned acreage is located near Thorson Road on the northeast corner of the town of Hale. A notice of the rezone request was posted on the April 13th meeting agenda, and there was no public opposition to the rezone request. And after a brief discussion, the board had no problems with the rezone, and David Lingen made a motion to recommend to the County Environment and Land Use Committee their approval of the zoning change. This motion was seconded by Greg Fonstead and passed unanimously by the board. This letter of approval for the rezone of 5 acres from exclusive ag to primary ag is being authorized by the Town of Hale Board and is being presented to the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee by Donald A. Halverson, Town of Hale Clerk.
That's some beautiful writing.
It is.
I really enjoy reading their letters to us. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this issue or ask questions? Seeing none, was there any notification about calling in? I haven't, in the past, up until we took the mask
It was
requirement.
on the posting. I didn't read it as far as.
Okay. So if there's anybody who's watching, either online or on the TCCO, and you have a desire to comment on any of these hearings, please call at 715-538-1770, although I don't see our phone set up today. There is? Okay, we do have a phone set up. So I'm just going to guess no one's going to call in. So I'm going to close the public hearing at 9:17, and remember to say that next time. I will remember to say that. Now, to the committee.
I'll make, go ahead.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the rezone. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Balwick. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a discussion about, no survey or no legal land description. That's a little different, isn't it, than what we usually see?
Well, Mr. Madison didn't want to go ahead with the survey until he knew the rezone would pass. So I do have on the resolution that I'm going to pass around that it's containing approximately 5 acres more or less to be determined by future certified survey map. And that has been discussed with Mr. Madison. And like I said, I think he's talked to
Yeah, I don't have
the
a
county
problem
surveyor about it.
with doing it, but just worried that what we pass here and talked about here could, not saying that they will, but potentially if we do this, it could be a different land description or a different, we don't
And
really know.
Any split under 20 acres requires a certified survey map.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we are, it says approximately 5 acres. So kind of what you had in your packet is what
Okay.
he is
Okay.
planning
Thank
to rezone. So, but good question.
Yes, Kathy?
I would like to know approximately where on the 40 you're planning to do this?
Isn't it?
You must have something in mind, I'm assuming, yeah.
Here, isn't it?
Okay.
Isn't there a map in your packet?
Yeah, but it's not indicated on here, there's nothing indicated.
It's right here.
So it'd be along Thronson?
Yeah.
Thorson. Thorson.
Yeah, and
Thorson,
there-
Thronson. Okay.
and there's plenty of road frontage.
Plenty of
Did
room,
you not
plenty of
have
road frontage.
this?
I do, but.
No, we don't have that picture.
It's
Oh,
with a
yes, we
black
do.
outline.
Right here.
We do.
It's right up
Okay,
here.
that's okay. I
We've
just,
got it darkened in
Yeah,
block.
yep, thank you.
no problem.
It's hard.
And it's even circled and
It's hard to
circled.
decipher. It's hard to decipher. Okay.
All right, we have a motion, a second, to approve the rezone. Any other discussion? Which case, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes. We will recommend this in a resolution to the county board on the 21st. Your presence isn't required. If you care to come in the eventuality of questions being asked, feel free to join us. It'll be in this room at 7 o'clock-ish.
And I'll give you a letter to that effect. Yeah. But I also told them with COVID, we've kind of been somewhat lenient with that, where they haven't had to be here. They
Right.
could call in, or we just had a cell phone number available that we could call them.
Yes, that, let's go with that as well. If you choose not to come, feel free, just give Verge your cell number and we'll call you if we have any questions.
Yes, I have it. But I'll let you know the date. It's the 21st of June at 7, but I'll send that to you.
Thanks for showing up. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next public hearing is a request for, another rezone request from Transitional Ag to Commercial, Scott G. and Virginette M. Gamroth, Independence. That's an interesting name.
Yeah, this is my other half.
Hi, Scott. Okay, everyone, objectivity is the name of the game here. Just level playing field. Please read the notification. I will call the public hearing to order at 9:20.
There will be a public hearing before the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021, at 9:05 a.m. in the County Boardroom of the Courthouse, 36245 Main Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin. Purpose, land use change, rezone from transitional agriculture, TA, to commercial, C, on approximately 1 acre more or less for storage units. Location, located in the part of the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 30, Township 22 North, Range 8 West, in the town of Lincoln. Parcel number 020-00570-0000. Hearing requested by Scott G. and Virginette M. Gamroth, Independence, Wisconsin, landowners, petitioners. Trempealeau County invites you to join this meeting as follows. To provide public comment on these hearings, please call 715-538-1770. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Mark Carlson with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1919 or email at markcarlson@countytrempealeau, Wisconsin, US. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comment to Department of Land Management, P.O. Box 67, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to Mark Carlson at County Trempealeau, Wisconsin, U.S. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author and the request that the letter be read at a particular meeting date. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Mark Carlson of the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1919. Sincerely, Mark Carlson, Zoning and Sanitary Specialist.
And again, if you want to call in, if you're watching on either online or on WCCO, the number is 715-538-1770. Mark, you want to describe the request?
As noted in the reading, we did post it in the paper for 2 weeks. Nobody contacted me via email. I had one person call me, a neighbor called just for informational purposes only. They weren't, they weren't expressing for or against. And then a letter from the town. They're just proposing a commercial rezone for a portion of the property to construct storage units. And that's kind of what we're having the hearing for, just because the storage units require the parcel to be, or the portion of the parcel to be zoned commercial for that use.
Okay. Scott, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, that's pretty straightforward, and that's the rules, so.
Okay. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to this issue, for or against? And again, if you're watching and you want to call in, it's 715-538-1770. Is there anyone here who wishes to comment, ask questions, register for or against?
How many storage units are you?
Whoa,
planning?
not yet. There's still public hearing. Hold on a second. Mark, the town of Lincoln has something to say?
Yes. May 15th, 2021, the Town of Lincoln Board held their regular meeting on the 12th of May, 2021. Present at the meeting were Chairman Jack Spearstra, Supervisors Gary Giese and Paul Coburn. Also present were Sharon Sasala, which is clerk, and Scott Gamera. Scott was the sixth item on the agenda and presented a request to change a portion of his property from Transag to commercial. After reviewing the request, the board had no objection to the approval, or to the proposal. A motion was made by Paul and seconded by Gary to allow the change in zoning. The motion was carried with 3 votes for and 0 votes against. Sharon Sasala, clerk, Town of Lincoln.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak, or does anyone want to call in and comment or ask questions? We need some more exciting.
No, we don't.
No, we don't, okay. Okay, I will close the public hearing at 9:26 and open it up to the committee for discussion, possible action.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Chuck, I know you had a question.
Oh, how many units are you planning on building?
Well, right now, the building plan is 3 units, roughly 120 feet long by 30 feet wide. That's my plan right now.
And how many individual units in each one then?
Well, I'm thinking 10 foot wide,
Oh,
so
okay.
it would be like 24 per building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that,
Guys, turn your mics on. That was.
is that replacing the mink?
Well, pretty much so, yeah, since I'm no longer in that industry.
Turn on his mic too.
Oh.
There we go, sorry.
Sorry. Yes, it's trying to create some income on the property I have since I no longer raise mink, so.
I see there's new endeavor there with garlic.
Well, yeah, but I don't bend so good like that anymore, so I don't know if we'll be doing that in the future, but.
Pick your own.
Well, I guess that's a possibility.
Yeah, but there's a lot to get to that.
Yeah, you don't have to always tend to it, but when you do, it's physical, so.
Well, take whatever cue you need to from Chuck. He's clearly got something going on.
Correct.
This is a great map, and unfortunately, it needs mostly a higher magnification than I've got. But the question I had to do with the access. But looking even closer, I noticed that there's the access will be from the existing driveway.
Correct.
And then you're just basically expanding the gravel area to come up to the main entrance
Correct.
off the highway. So there'll be no new driveways off of
No
120.
driveway. I don't think the DOT would allow that anyway.
That was my question, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in all technicality, there was a business there.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a farm business.
Turn your mic on.
Yeah, in all technicality, it was a farm business, just a different kind of business, but.
Yeah, ag versus commercial, yeah. So, we have a motion and a second to approve the rezone. Any other discussion, any other questions? All in favor of approving the rezone request, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It is approved. This, as you will know, will go to the county board on the 21st. The availability issue, same thing. Either be here or be on call. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
And our third public hearing is, this also is a rezone request from rural residential to commercial and residential 20 on about 11.2 acre parcel. Marissa, are you here? Please join us and push the button so that, there we go, little red ring goes on. And this is a request for storage units and residential 20, so I'm assuming possible housing as well. Okay, and I'll open the public hearing at 9:29 and ask the secretary to read the notice.
There will be a public hearing before the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 9:10 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse, 36245 Main Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin. Purpose: land use change rezone from rural residential RR to commercial C on approximately 3 acres more or less for storage units, and residential 20, R20, on the remaining 8.20 acres more or less. Location: located in the part of the southeast quarter of Section 17, Township 20 North, Range 7 West, lying south of County Road C in the town of Ettrick. Parcel number 014-00734-0015. Hearing requested by Marissa Howe, Ettrick, Wisconsin, landowner petitioners. Trempealeau County invites you to join this meeting as follows. To provide public comment on these hearings, please call 715-538-1770. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Virginette Gamroth with the Department of Land Management, 715-538-1916, or email at vergegamroth@county-trempealeau, Wisconsin, U.S. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comments to Department of Land Management, P.O. Box 67, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email to vergegamroth@county-trempealeau, Wisconsin, U.S. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author and request that the letter be read at a particular meeting date. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Virginette Gamroth of the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1916. Sincerely, Virginette Gamroth, Service Specialist.
So, we've gone through two, you know how this works. So, Verge, what's the request?
I received an application. Turn on my microphone. I received an application from Marissa Howe on April 18th, 2021. Marissa is applying for a rezone of 3 acres for commercial purposes and the remaining 8.20 acres to R20 for residential lots. I believe there was a CSM included in your packet, so you kind of know how it's divided out. The certified It was published, the hearing was published May 12th and May 19th in the newspaper. Letters were sent to adjoiners, and I received no responses. I do have a letter from the town, and if approved, it would go to the county board on June 21st.
Just for clarification, we're doing sort of a double rezone, one to commercial and one to R20, correct?
Well, it's one
It's one,
rezone, but it includes that language that I read, that it's
Right.
approximately 3 acres more or less for storage units, and R20 on the remaining 8.2 acres, more or less.
I'm just, I just don't remember ever doing a double rezone. Not that it's a problem, it's just, it's something unique. Marissa, is there anything you want to add to that?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. Is there anyone either here, just a little quiet, or watching from home who wishes to make any comments related to this, ask any questions, register for or against? Again, the phone number is 715-538-1770. I'll ask a second time. Is there anyone who's interested in commenting on this request for rezone? Verge, while we're waiting for the phones to start ringing off the hook, why don't we hear from the town of Ettrick?
Okay, I have a letter from the town of Ettrick dated April 12, 2021. It says, "Dear Sirs, in the matter of Marissa Howe's rezoning variance from rural residential to commercial and R20 on her property on County Road C in the town of Ettrick, the town of Ettrick has no objection to the granting of this variance." So,
They describe it as a variance, but it is a request for a rezone.
well, it's kind of a mixed bag here. It says from rural residential to commercial on R20 on her property in the town of Ettrick, so it should say rezone.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get them in touch with the town of Hale for appropriate language.
Yeah, they were not sure. They're like, what do I need to include in this letter? And I didn't know either, so.
All right, is there anyone who wishes to register for, against, requesting information regards this rezone request? 715-538-1770. All right, I'll close the public hearing at this time, 9:35, and open it up to the committee for discussion and action, possibly.
First of all, I'll make a motion to approve the.
Okay. Wallach to approve, is there a second?
I'll second.
Nelson got it first? Kathy, sorry.
I'll arm wrestle them later.
Okay. Any questions? So you have a Lot 1 and a Lot 2. Lot 1 is long and or, I know it's in here somewhere, Lot 2 is long and skinny, I assume that's where that's the smaller lot, that's for the storage units?
Yep.
And then Lot 1, again, just 8 acres at, what are we doing? R20, that's just 1 or 2 lots, Mark, what's?
I believe she wanted 4, right?
Well, yeah, it'll end up being 4.
About 4 lots, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're talking about individual homes, duplexes?
Well, the property owner to the west of the property has wanted to add on to their parcel, so we've talked about that. And then there'll be 3 other lots with, we're gonna keep a lot for ourselves of 3 acres, which would be right next to the storage unit or the commercial property. And then, yeah, there'll be a 2 acre and a 2.5 acre.
Okay, minimum lot size is met then, yeah.
Yeah, Joe's reviewing the survey. I don't know what the minimum lot size is in the Ettrick off the top of my head,
I
but
think it's
Joe
1
is,
acre.
Joe is.
It is 1 acre, okay.
Joe has reviewed the survey and is in the process of finalizing that,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, and I've
That's why-
talked to Joe a couple times too, because the people on the west want to add a 1/2 acre on, and that's just adding onto their property, so Joe said that that's fine.
Yeah, and that's the map that you have that Joe is currently reviewing.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be like a shared driveway for the the other lots, or will they be separate driveways for each potential lot?
It would be separate.
Separate
We're gonna,
driveways.
there's no point in building a house on 11-acre field, so that's the main reason where the R20 came along with the 5 lots. So yeah, there's already one for sure that has a driveway on it. And then the other parcel that the people to the west are looking at, there's already kind of a driveway there that they temporarily park at. I mean, it's not officially a permitted driveway, but, so yeah, it would be individual driveways on each lot.
Good.
Are you gonna exit onto County Road C?
Yes.
That'd be
With
the
all
only-
those driveways? Or with all the driveways?
That's the only road that is there with that property.
The
yeah.
only
Okay, I would check with the highway department on that,
Right.
just so you have enough driveways for your access.
Yeah, well, I had one driveway approved already and he told me that there's technically already 3 driveways on that property.
Okay.
But I'll talk to them again.
Yeah, and with the 2 3-acre ones, we could do one driveway because, like we said, we're keeping the 2 3 acres.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to, there's still some fine tuning to figure out, but.
Yeah. And adding to the existing commercial district in the booming town of Beach Corners. Yes, Kathy?
I was curious as to how many storage units you're planning on putting up.
Right now, we're hoping to start with 2 units, or 2 buildings, within the next year or 2. And then the property size, based off the building size that we want to do, you could get about 8 buildings on there. And that would be, like, there's 18 units per building, little bigger units.
That's a lot.
Well, there is 80 foot long by 40 foot wide would be each individual building. And that would have 10 by 20 units and then 10 by 10s.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the rezone, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, they are approved by this committee, and we will be, again, you've heard, it needs to go to the county board on the 21st. You can either come or be available by phone or online or however. All right, thank you.
To sign these resolutions. The third one I have to add something to.
Okay. We're going to move to, look at this, timing. So this is an update on the DLM budget
I'm gonna run upstairs.
by our financial
Fiscal coordinator.
fiscal coordinator. That's it, thank you.
I included a copy.
Becky, enlighten us, yes.
I included a copy in your folders too, in case it wasn't in, you didn't bring your packet with you. And then note too, on the second page, George, yours is on the first page, there is an addition in there that I didn't realize that the account wasn't already on the sheet, so I added it in.
Oh, it's in the folder, as well as in our packet.
Yep, I
Yes.
put one in the folder. I wrote on it, so right there is. But the one you got earlier is the exact same, it just has the addition, this new one has the additional handwritten piece on it.
Oh,
Should be.
sorry.
No, I went through and put them on there.
Here, we can,
We all,
So I put them all in there.
so run through, how are we doing?
Excellent right now because of the vacancies, so we're doing really well. That and a lot of our spending, we don't really like to do until we know where we're sitting at for the year. Especially with building, you never know if we're gonna get a lot of houses in or not, so we tend to hold off on things. Right now, wages and salaries, we have spent $109,366.44. So you can see that's a lot lower than what our budget is so far, so we're doing really good there. The next part is the stuff that we really don't budget for, but it's a backup for the salaries, it's all of the fringe. So including the per diems, that part is budgeted, $8,261.72 with the vacation and the overtime and the sick leave. And then for fringe benefits on the bottom, $50,281.79. And then the next page is where we do the actual expenses. So if you see right now, we've only spent $17,272.17. Keep in mind that this is only through April 30th. The system is a month behind, and I like to verify all of my numbers first before I present them to you. So we're a month behind based off of what our system is through the courthouse. But the one that's written off to the side, the building inspection, that one is not in the normal budget because we've never really used it before. I think maybe 2014 was the last time we used that account. It's not a budgeted account, it's just the sister account for our revenue, so we can spend out of that. That is for the GEC fees currently. As of April 30th, because they're a month behind in billing and then our system is a month behind, so it's technically 2 months behind, there's only $9,960.95 spent out of it, but I put below it the breakdown of what we've actually spent for GEC. That way you guys are better informed for your next decision. January, February, March, and April, so grand total this year, we spent $29,657.80. And then that would come out of the building permit fees revenue portion. This still is, we still need to add another month into the revenue below, but you can see that they're definitely not jiving right now.
Is this the line 12, 44300?
12, and then you need to add in, let's see here. No, sorry, yes, 12, it's just 12.
So that amount is 29,000?
So 26,975 is what we brought in revenue so far, and 29,657 is what we spent so far. But the 26,000 still needs May's revenue added into it.
Okay.
So we're right there where we're gonna be. We need to make a
Because
decision
when
with the
I
building.
added from this sheet,
From last month.
I had a difference of $1,064. So is this a full month of April and this is a half a month of April? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the April, that $10,592.40 is the bill that I just got from GEC. So that one is the most recent one. That is not in that graph that you had before.
That, your expense?
Yep.
I was talking revenue.
Okay, yep. Yes, sorry. Anyway, so back up to the top, the administration office expenses. So we've only spent the $17,272 plus add in the $29,657. That's what we're sitting at right now. And then the capital outlay, nothing has changed there. Still with the $9,470.96. And then the revenue, when you add in the revenue, currently we're at $77,277.34 of actual budget spent.
So back to Carol's question.
Yes.
So the revenue for building permit fees, the
Yep.
26,975.
Right.
That's the most recent complete month of April.
That is for all the way through April, yes.
Okay.
So is this whole budget, is this all levy?
Yeah, well, the only thing that's not would be the number 10 and 11, those remodeling funds and stuff, they just they stay in.
So where are your grants?
Because we haven't spent anything, I didn't put anything in there. Grants
So-
aren't starting until, we won't start spending out of them until July, August.
So when you do your budget, then you do your grants separate?
Yeah.
It's a whole different budget?
Yep, they have
Okay.
their own budget section for each grant.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any questions for Becky? She's pointed out briefly and subtly that we really need to make a decision on the surveyor. So, in order to start controlling those fees that GEC is charging.
Here's the yes.
Did you get a hold of Rick?
Yeah, I had to run the 4 flights of stairs to find him, but yeah, he'll be down here shortly.
Okay. Well, do you want to stick around?
figured I brought my stuff.
Can I ask one question out of curiosity? How do you spend $3,000 in office supplies in the first 4 months?
No, that is also with printing. So
Oh.
because we are printing, I don't want to spend out of the printing right now because we have a huge newsletter that we're not 100% sure on what the cost is going to be with mailing and everything. So I used the office supplies because we usually end up with a lot of excess with office supplies. I use that for right now, and if I need to journal entry it back, I will. But for right now, I wanted to keep our printing line item open for our newsletter that's going out.
And then your mileage, you have $259 spent, but yet somewhere here, you paid that company $800 and some dollars.
That does not come out of this one. The mileage here is only for the DLM PTED employees. It is only with the 800 and something comes specifically out of the building inspection. All that is paid for, that separate account that I wrote, that's where the mileage is in. GEC is all out of just the building inspection. All that is getting paid for that.
So we're paying them mileage. Are we still paying them mileage?
Under the current one, yes, we are.
Yeah.
So then this isn't the true expense then?
No,
Of
that
your
is a true
department.
expense for the department. The separate one that's entered in for GEC is off to the side, but it's all there.
So the mileage for GEC is included in those numbers, including the 10,592?
Right, yes.
Okay, so that's mileage and service?
That's mileage and services. That's all under their 210 account for services, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to pay them out of our DLM mileage.
Right. I believe you have a name tag up here. You cannot be anonymous. We welcome Rick Niemeyer, our esteemed county corporate counsel, at
Mr. Chair?
9:50.
One more question,
Sure.
if I may. Again, Becky, I'm, the building inspection, the 9,960.95, what was that again for?
That is January and February that are in there right now. So our system is a month behind for showing the expenses that have already been put through, but GEC is also another month behind in billing us. So it's technically 2 months behind, so it doesn't show March and April in there. So I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of how much we've actually paid GEC.
That's the written stuff, the annotation.
Especially since of what the next agenda item is. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew what was going on with that.
It's just January, February added together.
Yep.
Okey-doke. Thank you.
Mhm.
So overall picture, a lot of money in the salaries account and the fringe benefits account, kind of down on the sick pay and vacation pay, and just barely holding on as far as the inspection fees.
I have one more question.
Sure.
What account is it that you purchase your vehicles out of?
The vehicle account is a separate account, kind of like the grants are too. It's all a separate page, but because we haven't spent anything out of it, I didn't put it in here.
So that'll come forth through the budget process then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you would like, Carol, too, I can give
No,
you.
I'm just asking so I understand
Sure.
this. So look at it as we're preparing for our budget, which is, you're going to present that when, in July, August?
July,
So
August.
that's,
Because it'll be they're due in August, so it'll be the very beginning of August. We'll get the stuff at the end of the July, and then I'll present it right away in the beginning of August.
Yeah, the vehicle fund is a non-lapsing account that gets money added to every year, and then after a period of years, we rotate out the vehicles.
I do want to point out, Becky and I had this conversation a while ago. As she just said, we get things, or she gets things from the office at the end of
County
July, and we have our meeting on the first Wednesday, so she doesn't have much time to get everything ready for our meeting. If we had our meeting later in the month, it would be a little bit easier for Becky.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll
That's
just be a
something-
month behind. Yeah.
that's something that could be changed at the exec finance committee level.
Yeah, the last budget, I had 3 days.
Oh, you're talking about the preparation for the
Right,
budget? Oh,
right.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, 3 days is not a whole lot of time to
No.
get everything ready to present to us. So exec finance people, whoever you all are.
We shall remain anonymous.
Yes, Chuck and George will.
Yeah, we will remain anonymous. Thank you for the warning. Well, let's move to the next item. It's germane. I will confess early on that I have not kept a promise that I made to the committee to look for other bids. Part of it was, well, all of it was a combination of forgetting until Carol reminded me a week and a half ago, and then forgetting again, and also just not having a lot of time. I should have passed that on to somebody else. So
Yes.
I should have, thank you. And I apologize for that. We have had the service agreement contract with us that Rick drew up. There were some issues that came up last month, not the least of which was we hadn't had a lot of time to look at it. So I hope you've all brought yours, but mostly I think what we're concerned with at this point was the fee schedule. And perhaps, Becky, if you want to run us through that again. You said you had your stuff, or?
Right, this is, actually, Verge put this together. She went through and redid everything for you. I'm sorry. Verge actually put this together. She went through and redid the prices versus the current versus the to be considered one. So honestly, and this is really her realm, I think that.
Okay, Verge?
Basically just transferring numbers from what GEC had on their paper in their contract to that fee schedule worksheet.
Okay. Actually, I was kind of stalling because yet again, I was looking for something I knew I had but can't quite find.
Are you looking for the GEC worksheet?
The worksheet, yeah.
You can have mine.
It's, oh, there's one in the folder? Okay, thank you.
No, the worksheet.
Should get enough papers.
Yeah, well, I've got,
It killed so many trees.
okay, let's just see. Oh, I see what, okay. Oh, this was this was their first kick at it, so to speak, which was more of a advertising brochure and less of a contract. Rick, do you have that? Do you have the contract language in front of you?
This one?
Yes. Building Inspection Services Agreement? Yes. Do you want to just run through that with us, and
Sure. It starts out with, starts out by obviously, make sure I have the same conversion, yes,
Okay.
with just some definitions.
just a second, does everybody have one over there? Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
If you've got one, share it with some, how about you two down on the end, you have one? I can share with Beth and. Yeah. We learned this in kindergarten.
Otherwise, I'll run and make.
Here we go.
Don't kill any more trees.
Do you guys have one? Okay.
Right.
I'll bring it back.
Okay, go ahead.
So the first section there is just defining different aspects of the agreement, who the parties are, what the services being provided are, the scope, those kinds of things, pretty self-explanatory. There is a reference to Exhibit A attached, which is the fee that we've been talking about, the list of fees that are being discussed. And then it just goes into just some kind of generalities, for example, the performance standards, what kind of performance expectations there will be under the terms of the agreement, how long the agreement lasts, and how it can be terminated. If I recall correctly, they had requested a 3-year term for the initial contract to be in place, options to renew, again, terminate, those kinds of things. So there are those available in there. And then refers to the legal provisions that they would be required to comply with, any administrative code provisions, ordinances, state laws, those kinds of things. They are required to be insured, not a problem. They're a professional business, they have the insurance, so that's not an issue. And then Article 6 there, again, just some general requirements for each individual, each party. They are an independent contractor, so just making sure that everybody, it's spelled out in there as to how the work is going to be performed. Some of the things we had talked about was that they would prepare, based on the inspections they do, they would prepare a report and submit it back to the county in PDF form. If I remember correctly, was it 48 hours? Somewhere in that ballpark anyhow. There wasn't a real specific time frame necessary, but we determined 48 hours probably was appropriate to put in there when this was being drafted. Again, any documentation that's created is going to be considered a public record, so we just want to get that in there. Yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. I'm going through here. The miscellaneous section, those are basically what we call boilerplate language items. Those are things that from a legal perspective we put in there just to cover a few things from a legal standpoint. So, yeah, and then just ultimately signatures on it. So that's the gist of it anyhow.
I have a question.
Sure.
For the insurance part, is there a timeline? Like, say, for example, they approve of a building and do the inspection, everything's fine, and 2 years later, the floor falls in. Can they still be accountable for that, or how does that work?
Typically, an insurance policy that was in effect at the time something occurred, for example, let's just say it was a faulty inspection for whatever reason, that insurance policy typically would still be in effect. Now, the policies generally at some point in time will say anything that happens, let's say 10, 20, however many years later, that would no longer be covered because it's outside the realm, typically a statute of limitations issue. But generally speaking, yes, if something is discovered, let's say 2 years later, that typically would fall under that same policy then. So yeah, we would go back to them, they would go to their insurance company, and their insurance company would take a look at it and see if a claim can be paid. Correct.
And if that gets refused, then it comes to the county?
It'll depend on the circumstances, of course. If it's something that that company did specifically, it could still fall on them. They just may have to pay for it personally without insurance. If that company doesn't exist, then yeah, it potentially comes back to the county. So it just kind of depends on the situation. Mm-hmm.
I have a couple things. If you look at 6.4, the third line from the bottom, it should be during times of the year.
Oh, yeah. We
Somebody's-
don't want to limes. Thank you.
That one, and also I think in 10.2, the second line, again, time. It's my teacher thing, I can't help it.
There it is, yes. Thank
I
you.
also noted that
Yeah.
you've circled Becky Arneson
Right.
on in Article 9, perhaps instead of Becky's name, fiscal agents.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
because Becky might decide to fly the coop next week and,
Fiscal
Coordinator?
Fiscal coordinator.
Okay.
Well.
I hope she's not leaving, but,
Well-
if you tie a name to it, then you'd have to redo your contract.
Certainly, yep. Sounds good.
So the other issues that have been raised from the beginning have to do with the forms that are used, the collection of the records, who it is that sends the information to the state. And the Gary has been more than willing to say, we'll do whatever it is you want to do, but can we spell that stuff out in a contract with an independent contractor like this?
Certainly. We're not telling them exactly how they have to do their work, other than they have to comply with all legal requirements, codes, and that kind of thing. But when it comes to submitting, I think we had agreed that it was the county was going to be the initial point of contact, the information sent to GEC, when they're done, sent back to the county, and the county would file all the reports. That's my recollection of the general overview of the process.
And
So
they
yes, we can
understood
definitely do that.
And understanding as well that what we promised the contractors and filers, permit filers, is that we will get to at least communicate. What's our standard, within 24 hours or? For inspections? Communication with them or getting to the inspection
To
within.
GEC?
No, to the property owners or to the permit holders.
Okay,
should notify us at least 24 hours in advance.
Okay,
But
they
then
will-
our inspectors have 48 hours to get there.
Okay, that language is in here, as I understand it.
That I would have to review and see. I don't recall off the top of my head.
Okay.
Is that a industry practice, or is that something?
I think it's a industry practice. I mean, I actually think it's in the maybe administrative code.
And I was thinking it was a code provision. We can certainly, I mean, we've adopted the code, the applicable administrative code provisions are adopted into this agreement.
Okay.
If we want to do it, I'm just looking here, if we want to be specific in the agreement, we can put whatever we want into the agreement, so that's not a problem.
The 48 hours is important because after that, it's assumed to be,
They can proceed.
they can proceed with the construction. The other issue was, and that, I think that language is in here, that they have to be certified inspectors, or they have to have a certified inspector either on the phone or able to visualize the thing being inspected.
Correct, yep, it is certified inspectors. Do you want me to add the 48-hour?
Yes.
Okay. Mhm.
Or per administrative code or whatever. Does anybody have anything else? Yes,
Mr.
Kevin.
Chair, a suggestion again for Article 9 notices. You did change Becky's name to fiscal coordinator. I would also suggest that you add to the County Department of Land Management, if they just send it to Trempealeau County,
Mhm.
care of, P.O. Box 67, fiscal coordinator.
Who knows?
The county clerk's office will probably open it to try to figure out where it's going. so.
Certainly, yep. Nope, I did add the DLM in there as well, too, just as a precaution.
Do we have, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
go.
Do we have, if we approve this today, do we have a start date? I can't remember.
Let me see what the term, under the term provision. June, well, this says June 1st originally, so we would put it whenever we want it to start.
Okay. We can determine that.
Yep.
I think it was Kathy that, or Verge had sent an email that the city of, or village of Blair has opted out of going with Trempealeau County.
Oh, yes.
And so I think Kathy was concerned, and so am I, that is GEC going to be contracting with the other towns and villages, and now Trempealeau County's, not going to kind of be the overall umbrella to keep everything the same? Is there something that we can put in there that, they can't be contacting and contracting individually with other Trempealeau County municipalities?
You certainly could, as a committee, decide to put that in there. I wouldn't recommend it, only because I don't think that the GEC would sign the agreement with that in there. But that's just my opinion. They may very well, but that is something you could put in there. Mhm.
Just for a question, did GEC, is that who the city of Blair went with?
Yes.
It is.
Wow, they had a pending agreement with the county.
It's my understanding that they were looking for commercial inspection, and GEC offered them a full package, so they went with them.
I did send Rick an email asking him about putting in a non-compete clause, and he gave me the same answer by email that he just did. But I would hate to have GEC rating, essentially, a program that the county has built up through a lot of hard work over numerous years. For continuity for contractors in the county and landowners.
It's Kurt.
If we,
Turn your mic on.
it's on,
Nope.
Oh, it's not red, is it?
His lights.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Down here,
must have
my
a,
little,
new
my
one.
little light up here is about.
It's broke already.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. getting. Anyway, the way I understand, this is 3-year they want,
Correct, 3-year.
so that's gonna take us down the road quite a ways, so we're concerned more on trying to keep our inspection budget even at least. And that would be just, now the townships will more than likely stay with the program, right? Am I correct there in saying that?
All of the municipalities have passed resolutions
Right,
related
with
to.
the way we had it.
Right.
But if they decide to leave, I guess we don't really have any option on that.
All they'd have to do is pass another resolution saying that they're cutting off the relationship with the county.
At the present, we're more concerned in getting an inspection program, keeping an inspection program going.
And keeping it financially
Right.
secure.
So that's my thought.
And I think you have. Sorry, George, can I speak? I think you
Yes.
have to remember that.
The chair reckon it, not just the service specialist.
That we, again, are keeping what we call the one-stop shop. They
Yes.
can come here and get their well, sanitary, address, building permit, zoning permit, all at one stop, as opposed to having to, run here to get the building permit or submit it online, whatever you do, and then come here for the rest of the stuff. So there is an advantage to keeping it all in one spot.
And hopefully we can make that to all the other townships and incorporated municipalities. Make that point. Becky, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I would say is I live in Jackson County and they're split up like what the city of Blair is kind of doing. And it is, as Verge says, it is a pain for somebody who lives over in that area to have to go through the county, then have to go and figure out who the town is, and then have to figure out, because there's nobody really saying, you need all of this. So I knew what I needed because I work here. But as somebody who doesn't work with all of this stuff, not knowing who you need to get from what and where, it was a nightmare to build my house. So, and that was somebody who was working in all this. So I can only imagine people who have no idea. So to keep it a one-stop shop is really, honestly, the best thing.
What exactly, Rick, would a non-compete clause look like? I mean, it'd say that while they are contracted with the county, they cannot.
Basically enter into any agreements with any other municipalities located within Trempealeau County, with the exception, of course, of Blair. But it would say that they would agree not to enter into any other agreements with any other municipalities. We could, if we wanted to, at least differentiate for services that the county provides, because I know commercial, I don't believe we do.
We do not provide
Commercial. So obviously, we could make that exception just for the services that are under this agreement, so we could make it tailored to that way. But it essentially would, they would agree not to enter into those agreements.
I personally would like to see something like that in there. They might reject it and say, no, we're not going to sign it with this in, but they might say, yeah, let's go ahead. I would, once again, hate to see this program be chopped to bits over time, because it has been a long haul to get everybody on board for uniformity throughout the county.
Sure.
Thoughts from anybody else?
Under services, any other comments? You do, the language we have in here is collectively, the following services to be performed with respect to residential building projects within the county's jurisdictional boundaries. And I gotta look at Verge and Mark, is that sufficient, or should we be specific about, 1 and 2 family dwellings and what else?
Well, residential detached garages.
And residential detached. So do you think the phrase residential building projects is sufficient to describe that? Or should we just be specific and say 1 and 2 family dwellings and detached garages?
Well, I think you should be specific, but That would be a legal question, I think.
Sure. Sometimes you like to keep a little bit more broad in case there are some unique circumstances that arise that maybe don't fit nicely under a definition. I could remove the word residential just to say building projects, and then it would include any building project that requires a permit.
No.
Well, no, because then you start getting into commercial and ag and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So residential is what we do.
Right.
And I just wanted to be sure that that was sufficient. So if we're at, and this is to Kathy's point about allowing them to you know, service communities for the commercial side of it, but also being very clear about what it is that the county is providing.
Yes.
So, Mark, what do you
I think
think?
you made reference to 1 and 2 family dwelling type language, because we would, you know, they inspect duplexes and they do not inspect build, you know, like a fourplex or something. That doesn't fall under the 1 and 2 family dwelling. I think if you wanted to make it specific, I would just mention the 1 and 2 family dwelling part of it.
And detached garages?
Yeah, you can put that in there too.
Right.
I would say residential, detached garages.
Okay, residential detail, oh, right, exactly. Something that's connected to a house. Yeah.
Well,
Or s-
not necessarily connected, but
I mean, it's.
affiliated with a house on a
Right.
residential lot. I mean, there's, yeah.
So 1 and 2 family dwellings and residential detached garages?
Or garage, or
Garage.
residential detached garage, I don't know.
Okay. So that would replace the, oops.
The phrase residential building projects.
Okay, all right.
I wanted to be specific, so if we're gonna go down Kathy's road,
Mhm.
that they know what we're talking about.
Mhm. So what does anything over a duplex, what category does that fall under? Is that considered commercial?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think
Thank
it's
you.
necessarily zoned commercial, but the building inspection would be
Correct.
considered commercial.
Mark speaks so quietly that the people in the control booth
Yeah, I
have
seen
turned
the-
on both
yeah,
mics to
well, I
catch what
turned
he's
this one
saying.
back on, so.
Okay. I think, can I get an agreement from the committee that we want some language that Kathy recommended in terms of competition is maybe doesn't refer exactly to what we're asking for.
Protection.
Well, and
Becky?
The only thing I would want to add to that is I don't really see the harm in having it in there because they're already getting the business from it.
Right.
It's not like they're not able to already obtain the money with it. We're already doing all the building permit stuff with it. They're already getting paid for it at their fee rate. So I don't see why they would have any desire to go and hunt them down to try to get something else, because they're already getting what they want. So I mean, for them to not sign it with that in there, just protecting us as the county is, I mean, I don't see what the issue would be for them to sign it.
Did you have some language that you threw in there?
I haven't put it in yet because I wanted to give it a little thought as to the actual wording of it. So I was thinking I would do it today, but I haven't got it in there just yet, so.
Okay. So is the committee good with this? Okay. Rick will come up with some sort of quotation, non-competitive language clause.
This is only a 3-year contract too, so I don't know if they would be, you know, that upset by agreeing to kind of the non-solicitation for only 3 years, since, as Becky said, they're doing it already and getting paid for it already through the county.
yes, but they've already got Blair.
Well, but I'm not, I think Blair should endorse them.
Okay. He's typing away here.
Here we go.
So basically, we have standard language, we've changed some specific language related to the residential building projects, and we've defined that. I think we've agreed in the past that, well, we're already paying their rate. our expenses are going to go down because we won't be paying mileage, correct? We're just going to be paying their standard rate. They've already hired somebody in the county, and the 3-year window that Mark had asked for was related specifically to being sure that the investment, so to speak, that they're putting into their county employee would be returned by being able to do those inspections. We are making it clear that we are the first stop and the last stop for the inspections. It all starts here and ends here, and that we will be using our systems to access the state database. I think those were the timeline in terms of calling in and getting to the site and so forth. These are all things that are important, so. All right, I would, with those changes, which Rick is so ably inserting, I would entertain a motion to approve the contract that we have in front of us.
Make a motion to approve the contract as we've amended sitting here today.
Okay. By Nelson, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ziegler. Any other, yes, Kurt?
Chairman? This still has to go to the county board, right?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
We
Kathy?
we haven't really discussed the fees, but I assume everyone's looked at them and,
They are,
That's a separate agenda item, I just looked.
is it? It
Is
is?
it?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
okey dokey.
Now I've lost my agenda. Okay, all in favor of approving the building inspection service agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it is approved. We will, what?
What are we gonna put for the starting date?
Ah,
Can I amend my motion
sure.
to, with an effective starting date of today?
They'll
Next
have
week,
to agree to
Monday?
it.
Yeah, they'll have to review it and potentially get back to us, so
The 7th be too soon?
I'm not sure how quickly they can review it.
As soon as possible.
Okay.
Whatever date they put, they can
What
get
works
back,
for them?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. At a date to
Well.
be determined. Well,
I'd
No.
kind of give them a 2-week
It
turnaround.
says a couple weeks.
15th.
Let's go with that.
Okay,
I-
June
I
15th.
I
Second
would
it.
agree to the 15th.
Motion and a second to amend to include the date of June 15th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. These two.
I think they made a friendly amendment.
So, do you want to communicate with them, or?
I can.
Okay. You have Mark's number and all that?
And you would presumably be the one to sign, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
So is that just a vote on the amendment?
We voted for the
For the date.
original one prior to that, so I like what Beth was saying. It was a friendly and post-motion amendment. Okay.
But that also agreed to the entire contract.
Right.
All right.
Thank you for clarifying. Now, the next agenda item, I understand, is the fee schedule. Is that true? Here we go. There it is, yeah. So, the question, and this was a recommendation from GEC, they recommended, in a sense, that we could make a little money on this by adding a certain percentage to 10% markup to their fees, which are, how much higher are their fees than ours? I know I've got it here somewhere, but
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the actual copy.
here we go.
It's in the, as of the idea.
Oh, okay.
It's in the,
Oh, here it is.
The long sheet?
Oh.
GEC's fees comparison.
One that I gave the last meeting, where the highlighted copies, there's about a $150 difference
Okay, there's you say $150 difference?
based off of a 2,000 square foot house.
Okay, and that would be the difference between their fees and our fees.
Right.
So, basically, if we approve their fee schedule as our fee schedule, we'll be raising our permit fees for a 2,000 square foot house by $150.
Correct.
And will all of that still be covering our expenses?
Yeah, I mean, because what we're doing is typical of our jobs, so I mean, it's gonna cover, we're not gonna like lose any money at this. This is the best way for us to stay even, and, I mean, because this is typical jobs for Verge for zoning and everything, so it's just covered basics. I wouldn't say, though, making money at it, when you initially said it, I would say just covering costs, because we're
Right.
not gonna make.
I guess the question I'm raising is the question that GEC raised, which is, do we want to add do we need to add a 10% markup to cover any costs, any other costs that we might have?
Well, that's what this fee schedule represents.
The-
Is that
The to be considered.
with the
Yeah.
padding in it, yeah.
Oh, it does, okay.
To be considered includes the padding.
You're not thinking of another 10% to that, are you?
No, I see what you've got here now, okay. Ooh, solar array inspections.
Yeah, that was added because we had done that on homes where the solar array was mounted on the house, and evidently they do an electrical inspection for those, so we had to add that in.
I also noticed new is camping units. That wasn't on there before.
Yeah, it was, but it was kind of tucked, if you look at
Very-
ours, it's kind of tucked in with the HUD manufactured homes. And this, they have a
Ah,
separate
okay.
price that's different from the HUD homes, so we had to make it a separate line item.
Excellent. Good to know.
I have a question. In their September 5th proposal, they had an item number 20, windows and/or doors, same size replacement where applicable, $50. But I didn't see that on the new one. Is that still?
I don't know, I didn't see that on the one that George has.
On this one, no.
No, on the one that I handed you.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they took that off?
I'll have to clarify that.
Yeah. I didn't realize that if you're going to replace your windows and doors, you needed to get a building permit.
Well, see, we weren't charging them for that if the windows and doors were the same. If there was, if you're putting in a bigger window or something, changing the size, then they needed a permit for that. But if they were staying the same, we weren't requiring a permit for it. So I may need to clarify that with them.
Yeah.
The other question that we had that we're still waiting an answer on is the erosion control. If you notice on their fee schedule, it has a separate fee saying that they're going to charge for erosion control, but that's something that we handle here. We have our own person who can cover that, so we don't need them to do it. So I've sent that over to GEC, waiting for a response back for it.
Okay. And Mark, you're the erosion control guy?
Yes, I haven't been doing it on these types of scenarios, because they go out to this site, they go out here 3, 4, 5 times, that's something that they could be looking at when they're doing other things out there, instead of specifically driving out there separate for that. I mean, that is actually, erosion control is in their construction inspection, the UDC code for construction inspection has erosion control right in it, along with the framing and all that sort of stuff. But from a money standpoint, for some reason, they're not factoring that in, I could go out and look at it, but I mean, they're going out there to see the footing, and, they can observe pretty casually what erosion control measures are installed.
So Becky, what you're saying is because we haven't charged that in the past, and they need to either eliminate that or give that over to us? Is that
Well-
what your suggestion is?
We do charge for erosion control. So that's a fee that we've always charged with ours for the new homes. More or less, it's a clarification. Are you also charging along with us charging? Who's actually going to take care of this? I want to know where that lies. I don't want you to charge for erosion control if we're doing it. Or I don't want to be doing it if you're also going to be doing it. That kind of thing. So that's where the email's sitting at.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. I was a little
County
confused.
includes it with the building permit, and they're trying to include it with the inspection.
I just noticed it was on their fee sheet that is also in there, so I wanted to make sure that they
Yeah.
weren't going to charge as long
Right,
as
right.
with us
Yep,
charging.
yep.
Well, we charge the fees. I mean, we're collecting the fees. The question would be is, are they doing it and billing us for it?
Right.
Or are we supposed to do it? So we would need clarification on that.
Is it like a line item with the building inspection, or is it just kind of included? So what
No,
does the
it's a
county-
separate item.
What
It's-
does the county charge?
We charge $100.
Oh,
It's on the bottom of the sheet.
Okay.
Here, yeah, erosion
Okay.
control A would be the fee, and it's $100. It's at the, like, the third from the bottom.
Okay.
See, and we do, like, anything that's not a 1 and 2 family dwelling, then, you know, like an agricultural building or something, Mark would go out and actually do that erosion control if it's needed. So we have to do it on most things, you know, if it applies. But then the 1 and 2 family dwellings, like Mark said, if they're going out and doing 6 inspections or 8 over time, there's no reason for us to run out there and do a special erosion control check.
Any other questions on the fee inspection, since Mr. Brandt ran out for a moment?
Is
Fee-
this something
fee
we would
schedule?
have to approve then?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, we would have to approve the fee schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve the new fee schedule then.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Do you want to make it subject to us clarifying that erosion control and
Yes,
the
okay, yeah,
windows?
yeah.
And the windows and doors
Windows
thing?
and doors.
Mm-hmm.
This is on older home. You're talking about the windows and doors?
Yes, yes, like the
Remodels.
replacement. Okay, you have a motion and a second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, so we're
Question.
good with the fee schedule.
Being involved with money, is this that we have to have a roll call?
No, I don't think so, no. Because it's not coming out of our budget or
It's not
anything.
spending.
We're not, right, we're not
Funds.
spending
Not
it.
extra money, I suppose.
A question I had is, I had the effective date as of today on this fee schedule worksheet. Do you want it to coincide with the contract, or it doesn't really have to? I guess the sooner we can start charging these, the
I
better,
would-
because we're already,
I would say the effective date should be today, because we're losing money every day that GEC has raised their fees and we haven't raised ours.
okay.
You know, I mean, in the past, I think Mr. Leon did some of the inspections, so, you know, we weren't losing out quite so much money. You know, now GEC is doing all of them and charging for them, so I don't think we can keep going in the hole.
Okay.
Everyone agreeable to effective today?
Yes.
Yes.
Nods of heads.
Do you need to restate the motion then, or we just informally agree to it?
We'll informally agree.
Well, it's
Okay.
actually in the corner of the fee schedule worksheet. I had a June
Okay.
2nd,
Okay.
2021 date, so if you're approving this sheet.
Okay.
We approve the fee schedule,
Awesome.
effective today. Catch you up.
Okay.
Subject to checking on the windows and doors and clarifying the erosion control.
All right. So we're on item 13 now? Okay. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Who's bringing the resolution? This, Verge put this in. Kewaunee County had done this?
Well, I was asked to get this ready. It's a resolution in opposition to changes in the Wildlife Damage Abatement and Claims Program. Basically, we got a resolution from Kewaunee County, which I think I forwarded to everybody.
Yep.
In regard to this, and I was asked that we prepare one and submit it also, so.
Did we not pass a resolution like this?
I don't think you had a resolution, because this was in March when I wasn't at the meeting, but you talked about it, and you contacted.
Wisconsin Counties Association.
Yeah,
Actually, I
and-
was contacted by Wisconsin
Yeah,
Counties.
and I think you sent a letter.
We sent letters to all the legislators
Okay.
and Wisconsin counties, and then you got a call back from Wisconsin counties.
Okay,
But
so
that's
that
all
wasn't
we
a
did.
resolution. Okay. So this is still alive, basically, it sounds like.
This would make it official.
Right.
You want me to read it?
Yes, I do.
The resolution in opposition to changes in the Wildlife Damage Abatement and Claims Program. Whereas the Wildlife Damage Abatement and Claims Program, fully funded by a surcharge on hunting licenses, is a voluntary Department of Natural Resources program to assist producers with agricultural losses caused by deer, bears, geese, and cougars, as well as elk and sandhill cranes if hunting those animals is authorized. And whereas Trempealeau County has participated in the program since its inception in 1983 and has administered the program through the Environment and Land Use Committee, and whereas the Wisconsin State Legislature is proposing making changes to the Wildlife Damage and Claims Program through Senate Bill 63 and Assembly Bill 49 by eliminating the administration of these programs from the Environment and Land Use Committee and changing the administration to these programs to the DNR instead. And whereas by eliminating any local authority, when landowners have issues and appeals concerning harvest objectives or management of the program, they will no longer appear before the Environment and Land Use Committee, but would instead have to travel to Madison to appear before DNR officials who don't necessarily have local concerns in mind when rendering a decision. Now therefore be it resolved by the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors duly assembled this 21st day of June 2021 that the board opposes the changes to the Wildlife Damage and Claims Program through Senate Bill 63 and Assembly Bill 49, which eliminates any local county control of the program and instead gives all authority to the state government officials. And be it further resolved that the county clerk is directed to send a copy of this resolution to Governor Evers, the members of the state legislature, the Wisconsin Counties Association, and the other counties of the state of Wisconsin, state senators Jeff Smith and Kathy Berner, and state assembly representatives Trig Pranjinsky and Jesse James, and it would be respectfully submitted by the Environment and Land Use Committee.
Is there,
And introduced by.
is there a motion to approve this resolution and send it to the county board?
So moved.
By Nelson?
I'll second.
Second by Zegman. We've discussed this before. Should we just go to a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This will be something that we pass around and sign and send to the county board. Next on the item is the Towns Association appointment for representation to the ELU. We had an interesting county board meeting, and Kathy is still our Towns Association representative. For now, I suspect there'll be another vote of some kind at the next meeting. Kathy, do you want to update us? Is there anything?
There's nothing to update you on.
Okay. We'll see where it goes at the next county board meeting. So the Board of Adjustment appointments were approved at the last meeting. So Jim Schwartz and Nan Horton are still president, and is it chairman and secretary of the the Board of Adjustment. Mark, do they get much action these days?
We haven't had any applicants lately. We've been kind of trying to steer people away from requesting variances, either steer them in a different direction as far as not having to have one. We haven't had any applicants, and there isn't any in the works at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Good committee to be on.
Sign.
Becky's probably sticking around because of the cost share payment requests and approval.
Just to let you know that there aren't any.
Okay. Our next meeting date is July 7th, 2021. Also in your packet today, there was a communication from Krista Weisenberger related to the possible reorganization of the Department of Land Management with recommendations from staff. There was a staff meeting at which Rick was present and facilitating on May 10th. And there were, having read through this, there were quite a few excellent, actually, they were all excellent recommendations. What I'd like to say, under this rubric, I would, the letter from Krista came in the packet. It wasn't in the folder today. So,
I think there was an
Yeah,
email.
I just asking him if I had to.
oh, and there's also one in the folder. This afternoon, we'll be interviewing applicants for the county conservationist position, and Gaylord Olson, who is the county conservationist in Jackson County, will be sitting in on the interviews, and he requested that I get a sense of the committee in terms of what we want as a committee, the county conservationist to be focusing on. In other words, there is a significant amount, well, not just the county conservationist, but the whole the Department of Land Management. There's a regulatory responsibility that goes with that position, and basically he wants, when he's interviewing somebody, he wants to be able to communicate to them that the committee will support that part of the job description, the regulatory part of the job description. I had passed on last month, and it appears in the minutes, the responsibilities of that position, and they are significant. So, using the common parlance, do we want to communicate to any applicant for the county conservationist position that we have their back? That we support the enforcement of the state statutes and the requirements?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, where do we want to go with this discussion? The recommendations include literally everything from adding supervisors to keep the Department of Land Management together, hiring a director, creating a management level, and then having staff working and reporting to the supervisor, to literally splitting the current Department of Land Management into 4 different standalone departments. Let's take it from there. What are your thoughts?
Mr. Grover came. She just appeared. At our PTED meeting yesterday, this was an agenda item, and if you look at specific position ideas, it was brought up and discussed briefly to have the PTED committee break off totally. And you'd have a tourism employee and a park employee, and that would be kind of like their own department. Because the concern was right now that the park person, which is kind of a split job description, reports to 2 different committees, and the tourism person because I don't want to mention names because we're not in closed session, economic development and tourism person reports to the PTED committee, but didn't really have the department head, which there was some confusion as to the department head was in the DLM and not really with PTED, and so there was some confusion on reporting to there. So that's something that we probably need to discuss.
What did the PTED committee decide?
I don't think they came up with any decision, but there's got to be, because then we kind of got off and we were talking about people and things, and Jeannie Nutter, and I don't know if Jeannie is zooming in because I told her maybe she wanted to do some commenting here.
No zooming here.
You know, but some clarification would have to be made if it stayed kind of the way it is. You know, who does the economic development tourism person actually report to? The committee or a department head? You know, that kind of confusion. So that needs to be, you know, discussed in our discussion. And maybe some of this will need to flow over into a closed session if we end up talking about people. But that's kind of yesterday. I don't know if Rob has more to add, if you want to.
Well, we're gonna leave it in the committee for now. We've gotten the input from staff, and with some really excellent suggestions. There's clearly a lot of thought has gone into this, and I have to say I appreciate the work that Rick and Krista, who's just, I thought she showed up. Yeah, there she saw her walking in, have done. So committee, we are currently hiring or interviewing for the land conservation. Krista, why don't you just give us an update on where the position hires are in advertising and interviewing and so forth.
Absolutely. So this afternoon, we actually have interviews for the county conservationist position.
There'll be four
Yes, we'll be interviewing 4 candidates. We also have the conservation engineering specialist that actually just closed Monday, May 31st, so we'll need to set up interviews for that position.
How many people applied for that position?
Let me pull that up here for you.
And while she's looking, I'll remind the committee that we also reposted the zoning and planning specialist position.
And that one is open until filled.
Okay.
When did that get posted? Recently?
I can pull that up for you too if you give me one
I
moment.
think 2 to 3 weeks ago.
We have 7 for the conservation engineering specialist.
So
The planning and zoning specialist was posted on May 6th, and that one is open until filled. And that is what we have as it stands right now.
Okay. So one of the some of the recommendations had to do with the rewriting of what was the phrase? Rewriting some job descriptions to include other aspects or clarifying job descriptions so as to clarify, again, who it is that reports to who works with whom, who's responsible for what area. So we could be starting from scratch here. What's the committee's idea?
What implication does having all these new departments have on the county's operation in general? Are we as the county board in charge of all the departments? or who actually takes control of all the departments?
That kind of would be something that this committee probably would recommend maybe to the county board, because you would be having, hypothetically speaking, if you had multiple departments, who they would respond to. I mean, in theory, it would be this committee, of course, but those would be things that you could consider and push and move forward to the, because I think ultimately this should go to the full county board if you're going to do different things. That's just my opinion. So this committee could recommend, we're going to have these number of departments. They're all going to report to this. There's going to be a department head in each one of these departments, or however that looks. So really, you can kind of tailor it however you think would be most advantageous to the county.
So historically, this committee's already recommended to the Exec Finance Committee that the Department of Land Records and Tax Listers, GIS Specialist, be overseen by Exec Finance. So that's in the works, right? The other, historically, there was a zoning committee. There was a zoning department which reported to a zoning committee. There was a land conservation department which reported to a land conservation committee. Currently, we have a Parks, Tours, and Economic Development Committee that oversees 1.5 employees. So there already is a Parks, Tourism, and Economic Development Committee. And that was one of the recommendations, or one of the suggestions, was to split off the zoning and land conservation. To answer your question in a much shorter way than I usually do, it would probably mean also creating another committee to oversee that department. Otherwise, if it were to be just one committee, it wouldn't make much sense to
Split them.
Split them, yeah. To report to.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I do recall in the past, when there was a separate Parks Committee, which was disbanded by Executive Finance and the full county board. And then Executive Finance and the full county board did recommend, well, actually, they didn't. Parks was to be placed under Environment and Land Use. And at that point in time, this committee refused to take them, or respectfully declined, let's put it that way, respectfully declined, because at that point in time, we were having 6 to 8 to 12-hour meetings.
Yes.
Which were more than enough for us to contemplate. So that's actually how the Parks, Tourism, and Economic Development Committee came about. Otherwise, it would have been under this entire committee to begin with. I don't see any benefit at this point in time to having them split off into another department. Right now, it doesn't seem that there would be enough work for a parks person, economic development person and a parks person to accomplish. We only have one park. And as far as that employee reporting to 2 committees, that doesn't seem to be a difficult task.
Well, actually, I think, and I was taking Beth's point. The question is not which committee to report to, but rather who's in charge. Is it the committee, or is it the Department of Land Management director? So who do you answer to? Not 2 separate committees, but the director or to the committee. So that is, I agree, that is a little unclear. And that was the question you guys had?
That's part of it. And Jeannie was saying, too, that when the whole tourism economic development position came open, there was a big discussion at that time about where it's going to fit in. Some county board members, and this was before my time, so I don't have the background. Some county board members didn't feel we needed that position, some did, and there was this whole big discussion on where it's going to fit. And it was decided, you know, at that time, that it would be put into, you know, the DLM department, if I remember what she said correctly. You know, maybe you remember, George, Chuck, I don't know if you were, Kurt, you were here at the time, you know, how that all came about.
That's at the time that they went to a 50-50 with the park director.
Right. 50% land conservation, so basically, to split off the parks and fold it into into a separate department, it would mean potentially losing a half-time conservationist, or someone who has responsibility for conservation issues. I think the current position is being held by someone with those skills, but it would also mean we'd be losing some expertise within the conservation sector. And with any new department or any new position, there's a kind of a proving time. You know, do we really need this? And whoever it is that fills it needs to fill up that time and demonstrate to the county board that yes, we do need this position, and this is why it's valuable. So,
I think too, in our discussion, it came up with there's no way to count how many dollars comes back to Trempealeau County for our tourism and economic development coordinator. So I think Mr. Grover was going to be checking on seeing at the state if we could get some information, you know, because as that position has been created, there's been a lot of things brought to the county with that position, but it's hard to quantify. And that was part of the discussion too, which kind of dovetails what you just said.
yeah. So having looked at the suggestions from staff and from our previous conversations, we're in a position now where we need to look at what's happening in Trempealeau County at this time. When the Department of Land Management was created, we are having a whole different set of issues related to agriculture and housing or development, commercial business, whatever, within the county, and we are and planning and so forth. So we are trying to address those issues. What does the committee see as the issues we need to address today, and how can we best address them with staffing and expertise? Well, based on our current committee, or our current agenda, it seems that the entire county is going to be built up into storage sheds. So, I mean, what position do we need to cover the storage sheds? I'm joking, filling space. So.
Those would be 200 hog operations.
Well, exactly. So I mean, this is the point. At one point we were dealing with what seemed to be an exploding number of CAFOs. And expanding kind of animal operations. We have not had any hog operation requests, but and then for a while it seemed that the building boom was starting to chop up the county into little tiny parcels that the committee decided needed to be addressed. How do we address the zoning issues related to agriculture and housing? So, what are our current issues, and how do we best address them? How do we communicate to the people we want to hire what we expect them to do, and how it is, and what we want the county to look like? I mean, this is the committee that's responsible for that.
All this is gonna affect how we advertise the replacement for Kevin, won't it?
For the director position, yes.
It'll
Yes,
have
it is.
significant implications as to the qualifications or the job description of that post. So we almost need to do this before we hire somebody, really. Because we could get somebody that takes it and then not want to do some of the things that are assigned to them.
If things were to change.
Yes, if things were changed considerably, yes.
Kathy?
George, I believe you were the only person on the board at the time land conservation and zoning were combined. Can you give us a history of the reasoning to combine those positions? Was it, or departments, was it merely budgetary?
Well, Virgin and Mark were here as well, so they can be part of. You weren't in, oh. Well, I've been trying to frame it in how it is I'm introducing your responsibilities at this point. At the time they were combined, we could see that there were connections between zoning and ag, zoning and conservation, because they kept bumping up to each other. How can you have a farm with 900 head of milking cattle when surrounded by subdivisions of houses? Where's the conflict and how do you mitigate the conflict? And the idea was to have zoning people and conservation people who in a sense were cross-trained to understand what the issues were on both sides, hence the Department of Land Management. And it goes without saying, and because we've been beating this drum for however long this has been, 10 years, 15 years, the original recommendation was to have a director, 2 area supervisors, and significant number of staff in both areas, zoning, planning, and surveying and conservation. So that didn't happen, and that's one of the things on the table now. If we reorganize, do we staff up and include supervisors and a director, or do we pare down and separate? I mean, not to say those are the only 2 options, or do we keep things the way they were?
So it sounds to me that I think the intentions were to have, division of responsibilities, but you said it never really happened.
Right.
So I'm not sure that we have a structure that we have to do significant changes to. I think we need to implement that vision and make sure that as we hire people moving forward, they are filling the holes that we have, be it zoning, be it conservation, whatever, focus needs to be. I like the idea of having knowledge in both the zoning and the conservation areas because they do overlap in so many effects. So I think kind of staying the course and implementing that vision still seems logical to me. I don't know, if you want to talk parks, tourism, economic development, I think that can be up for debate. I don't know that it makes sense to split off and make a 2-person department necessarily. I don't know. That could be up for debate. But I think the vision for conservation and zoning that was envisioned is still valid.
You don't think that the county, the issues the county faces have changed significantly in the last 10 years, that there needs to be another focus or a more, a different focus? Or a new area of focus?
Sure. I don't know that, I wasn't here 10 years ago sitting in this chair, so I can't speak to how much has changed. I still think if I think about what's going on throughout the county, I'm struggling to find serious differences, I guess. And I've been, traveling the county with, various reasons for my whole life. And there's always little niches, but I still think for the most part, I think the vision is valid.
Okay.
I think the connection is still there. Maybe the issues have, morphed into a little bit different, venues, but I don't think the link between conservation and zoning is really changed. Like say it might have morphed, but, maybe, like you said, at the time it was CAFOs, you know, maybe you could say it's housing now. But, you know, I think the link is still there. And then with the, you know, the park position, you know, that would mean, you know, either hiring somebody 50% in 2 departments or trying to find enough work for a full-time park person and then a full-time, you know, or to fulfill what that, you know, the conservation zoning part of that, you know, position and, you know, I'm not sure, you know, just making work, rather than having somebody report to 2 committees is the right way to go.
Or freeing up a person to expand work, or to meet the work that's there that isn't getting done. You know, that's the other way to look at it.
That's true.
Well, I'm hearing a sense that the current structure, Kellen, help me out. Are you thinking then that the original recommendation of having supervisory people overseeing these 2 sections of the Department of Land Management is something we should approach to try to fill those positions?
I do think so. I think that having, I guess in my mind, a director position who can kind of oversee, you know, maybe great knowledge on one aspect, but general over others, and maybe Pete, the parks, you know, falls underneath their guidance as well. But still kind of separate department just under that director, and then you have a conservationist, or, you know, whatever you want to title this, and then something with zoning. So basically, it's just, I like flow charts. I want to see who reports to who. It needs to be no questions, and, you know, something along those lines is where my head is at. I don't think it's a huge difference from what we have, other than probably some job descriptions, maybe you know, little things here and there. I think it's just a matter of implementing it.
I think I have to support Kellen with that. I like the first part here where it says create overlap between staff vacancies. We all know we have to use up our vacation times, and if someone comes off the street, they don't want to be told that, oh, gee, so-and-so's on vacation, can you come back? There should be somebody that's maybe not equally trained, but can answer their questions, or not put off that you have to wait till they come back. I think
That's been the goal overall. Sometimes there's gaps, but yeah, that's the
well, it was
overall
listed
goal.
here, so that's
Right.
why I'm saying it.
Right.
That I think the staff would enjoy it more to have more a knowledge base other than just their job, to understand everything in the department. I think we have to be fiscally responsible. We're going to be seeing a day where it's going to have to be addressed, especially with new facilities being added on. I think it has to be streamlined, and I too agree. I think a flow chart, and then finally resolve this issue of who answers to who. Have something where we can see that.
Yeah.
I agree 100% with Carol. With one of the comments that Beth had mentioned earlier regarding the Parks and Tourism Committee overseeing that department, I don't think a committee should be directly overseeing employees. I think we need to have a staff member that takes care of that, because maybe Beth, you would be okay with it, but you just don't know the next committee down the road or whatever. I think it's important to have that level of staff and people that are in the office to handle those things.
Since our discussion yesterday, you know, I thought too, do we need another, you know, the PTED committee? If we're only overseeing 1.5 people, maybe that committee could be disbanded, and depending on, you know, how things go, put everybody into the ELU committee. You know, it was just a thought that I had. Not that I'm, you know, trying to relinquish my job as chair, which would be good.
I really don't see how a committee member can supervise employees. You're here once a month. Beth, you have a red pen. Yes, we all know that, but not every committee member reads the minutes. So, or reads the literature. So it has to be an embodied person to supervise. It just has to be.
There's, okay. I'm hearing some stuff here, you know.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Just one more comment. It's never been the role of board members nor committee members to oversee staff. Committees and board members are to set policy and procedures and vote on those. And we hire directors and managers for the purpose of directing staff.
Yeah, to dovetail off on what Kathy says, I've said this many times. When I first became a county board supervisor and went to the WCA training in Eau Claire, they said, yes, your name might be supervisor, but you are not the person that's supervising the employees. Your job is to make policy and work on the budget. And you shouldn't be going into the office to supervise because your employees have a lot of work to do and they don't need to be bothered. So I try not to interrupt the workflow, but sometimes you just have to go and check in on people and have a little chit chat.
See the cool stuff that's going on.
And just a little interesting aside, Wisconsin is the only state that calls their county board members supervisors. All the other 49 states have county board commissioners.
Yeah.
So unique in many fashions, we in Wisconsin.
At this point, we have 3 positions, well, actually 4 positions that are open. Is it the desire of this committee to look at the possibility of changing any job descriptions or adding any positions?
I thought we couldn't change any job descriptions until after the compensation study.
Thank you, Beth, for reminding me of
Yes.
that.
I mean, I think we could make some designation as to who reports to who, but am I right, Krista?
That would be correct. That would be my recommendation. However, this may constitute an extenuating circumstance. So it's up to the committee on what your preference would be.
All right, so just keep your mic on. If we decided we wanted to add positions, is that a no-no as far as the compensation study goes?
Yes, that one I would recommend holding off on until the end of the compensation study. If we are going to be looking at changing positions as far as making them more of a supervisory position, I would feel more comfortable doing that at this time. But I would suggest holding off on adding any new positions.
Okay, that's a constraint that I hadn't foreseen, even though I'm on the Personnel Bargaining Committee.
I could definitely run it past our compensation consultant and get his views on it, but.
I don't know. In my opinion, I think that's the position of the director that you hire to decide if he needs more positions or less positions.
Okay.
I mean, he knows the work. He will know the workflow within
He or
6
she?
months.
He or she.
He, she, they, there.
Okay. I'm getting a sense that we just go forward with the positions that we've advertised, and that we put off till another day the decision about breaking off any other departments other than the Land Records Department. At this point, just put off for another day that discussion. I personally think there have been 1- and 2-person departments. Look at the Treasurer's Office, for instance, in the past, and I think there's positives for both sides. I personally believe that there's just incredible room for expansion for our tourism and economic development coordinators. or things within the county. But there is one thing, and I apologize, I will be leaving at 11:30 to meet with the county con from, I'm having lunch with Gaylord, and then we'll meet with you at 12:30 at the HR office. He wants a little update on how things are going, wants to hear the effects of this conversation. But one of the things, and tell me if this is something that's for closed session, the possibility, and this was a recommendation, of appointing or hiring an interim director. It comes highly recommended, not only by staff, but our HR director has suggested to me this would be a good thing to do, correct? At this point, do we want to consider doing that?
I was going to ask if this would be a closed session item, because Monday, the exec finance meets, and they will do their vote if they are accepting the land records department, and then that would make the detachment official, correct, Rick?
Well, county board.
Or do we have to wait till the county board?
I suppose if it's creating a new department and then you have a department head, it probably should go through the county board, because there will be ordinances that need to be revised that will require county board approval.
Okay, because right at this point, Ms. Hempel is kind of, you designated her as the supervisor, but when that takes effect, then we need someone to be the immediate supervisor until whoever gets hired.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's an open session now or a closed session, because I have some ideas. But I don't know when that happens.
Sure. If we're going to talk about specific individuals for that potential position, that should probably be a closed session item.
Okay,
Yep.
but prior to that, we can say this is something we want to talk about?
Certainly, if it's just a general concept or ideas as to how that might work, then we'd be fine in open session.
So, committee?
I have a question about, like, would a interim position be given a term contract, and how that would interfere or dictate the full-time position hire? If somebody gets a 6-month interim contract, then the starting time of a potential hire would have to be, adjusted to after that?
Kind of depends on how that works. If it's an outside candidate that is brought in, there would be a limited term employee type of a situation. And essentially it would be until a new director is hired. So it would be flexible as to whenever that date occurred. If it's internal individual, they're already employed. So it would just basically be an added title responsibilities until that new director is hired. So.
Kathy?
As far as timeline is concerned, interim director was suggested and talked about by this committee also in various sessions. Interim director was suggested when we did not know the outcome of
The previous
director. We now know that we do not have, the previous director will not be back. I don't think, Krista would know this for sure, that hiring an interim director would be any less difficult than hiring a permanent director. Aren't we kind of working at cross purposes? Can't we just
Carry on the way we've been carrying on?
Well, advertise for a director instead of an interim director, unless, maybe we should do this in closed session, unless there's someone being talked about to be an interim director.
Krista, do you want to weigh in on this?
I mean, it's certainly a good point. It all depends upon which direction the committee wants to go as far as assigning or appointing an interim director. That's kind of the next piece of this too, is we're going to have to revise the job description for the current land management director. As far as time frame goes for posting, we could be looking at, probably up to 2 months before we have an official person in that seat. So it's up to this committee if you're wanting to appoint someone. I know Beth made a very good point too. If Ann would be detaching from the department, there's really no oversight of the rest of the staff members. So something else to consider.
Yeah. Or the supervisory, responsibilities at this point.
I think we have to remember that the budget will be coming due, see, you said 2 months, so there'll be a budget process that will have to be overseen as well. So I think we should go ahead and do someone that's interim, that's here already, that knows the flow. We don't have to reteach for 2 months. Just a thought.
Go ahead. Ken.
I guess I have similar concerns to Kathy too, as far as the timeline here. I mean, if we're gonna be, does it make sense to interview or look for applicants for an interim if we're gonna be hiring a new director in the coming months? So, time is of the essence, so I think we need to, we're probably ready for closed session.
Okay. That being said, I think we've had a general discussion, and there will be a more detailed discussion in closed session. That being said, I'm going to leave.
Do you want Mr. Grover would like to say something?
Yeah, he's out there, he's waving his arm and pointing his finger. Wait a minute. Okay, Rob, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up, Beth, something that the committee talked about yesterday. You know, we are talking about the overlapping of committees. I'm not overseen by your committee. I'm overseen by the Parks, Tourism, Economic Development Committee. Though the supervisor of the Department of Land Management oversees me, PTED currently is not part of the process of choosing a new director. And there were multiple members of the PTED committee, including county board members, that brought up the question, shouldn't PTED also be involved in the hiring of the next director? Because PTED oversees staff within the Department of Land Management. So I would put that out to you. In my opinion, and I think in the members of PTED, it would be appropriate that it shouldn't just be up to this committee to pick the next director, because there is staff that is, again, overseen by PTED, and then, of course, overseen by the new director that falls under their jurisdiction. So it really wouldn't be appropriate for this committee to be the only ones going through that process. And to leave those folks out would really be disenfranchising them. So just keep that in mind. I know you're going to have some county board members that bring it up, but if you go forward without including PTED in choosing who the next director is going to be, that would be incredibly inappropriate. And in members of the committee's opinion, as was brought up yesterday. So.
Okay, thank you.
The committee does not do the hiring.
Sure, but to be part of that process, it'd be inappropriate to not include PTED in the discussion on who the next director should be.
Thank you. This is actually, I think, a very good point. And it will be, in fact, Krista, the director who hires or the committee that hires the director, right? So we are involved in the process. It's us who interview. So.
But you have never, an entire committee has never been involved in any interview process.
That's not true.
For a director position, they would be.
Yep, incorrect.
Yeah. So, but thank you for pointing that out. I mean, this plays into the conversation about all the stuff we were talking about. So, thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Again.
So I will make a motion to convene into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85, paren 1, paren C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. So you can be part of this for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. I was hoping to get out of this. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Scoyen. Motion by Killian, second by Scoyen to go into closed
Oh,
session.
I didn't have my mic on.
We'll do a roll call vote. Zeglin?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
Wallach?
Yes.
Scoyen?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Good, and we hope you stay.
Yes.
For Killian and Brandt, yes. So we'll take a 2-minute break, and that'll allow me 3 minutes to stay. And then we'll be into closed session. Do we want...